I have said on many occasions
He dicho en muchas ocasiones
the Cuban team
el equipo cubano
could actually play in the big leagues today.
Puede realmente jugar en las grandes ligas de la actualidad.
Players like Linares,
Jugadores como Linares, Casanova, Gurriel
are definitely major league ball players at this.
Y pone a su equipo rápidamente al frente. El segundo inning también es productivo. Alejo Relli, a la postre líder de los bateadores, sale decidido hacia el rectángulo de bateo. Swing completo, un envío de Marbeck y cuadrangular con las bases limpias. El juego 3-0. Estados Unidos hace su más fuerte amago en el sexto inning. Nicky Morandini conecta sencillo y llega a segunda por error de tiro en la propia jugada. Le sigue Robin Ventura, que dispara cañonazo de hit, pero Morandini no puede anotar. Hay conferencia con el zurdo Jorge Luis Valdés. El yumorino acude a toda su experiencia y domina a los dos últimos bateadores de la entrada con corredores en tercera y primera. Los norteños se han quedado con la gana. Es el séptimo inning. El niño prodigio, Omar Linares, conecta jonrón con las bases limpias. El juego se encuentra ahora 4-0. En el octavo llega la puntilla. Víctor Mesa recibe base por bola. Con hombre en primera, Giraldo González conecta triple e impulsa la quinta y última carrera del encuentro, que ahora está 5-0. Noveno inning, batea a Estados Unidos. Es su última oportunidad. Morandini abre con hit y renace el ánimo de los norteamericanos. Otra vez Jorge Luis Valdés mete el brazo y John Valentín, Sam Rogers elevan batazos fáciles a los jardines. La esperanza es Mark Standingford, que se deja contar el tercer strike. Tal vez quede para otra ocasión. porque ahora es victoria para Cuba.
Hoy en Hablando de Deportes, otro juego, este completico, 1987, exactamente el 23 de octubre de 1987, en el gran estadio de Cerro de La Habana, en latinoamericano, el juego Cuba-Estados Unidos de la octava Copa Intercontinental de Beisbol. Penúltimo juego de Cuba en ese evento. Fue viernes 23 de octubre. Particularidades del juego. Caramba, ese día fue el cumpleaños de el niño, de Omar el Niño Linares. Cumplió 20 añitos ese día y el niño lo celebró, ahí lo verán, metiendo alcohol, metiendo un palo por el center field. Su último jonrón de la Copa, líder con récord, 11 jonrones. Estaba en su mejor momento Linares ahí ya ahí Linares estaba en su mejor momento ya. En lo físico, en lo deportivo, en todo. Y ya como slugger, ya explotó como slugger completo. Tremendo, ¿no? Un fenómeno. El equipo cubano, ese line-up, todavía estaba con todos sus regulares. Cosas a señalar del partido, repito, varias. Van a ver un tronco de fildeo de Luis Gurriel, para que dicen que no era defensivo, de Cortuna Zapato, que era el mejor en eso, quitando de atrás. Van a ver a Luis Gerardo Casanova, que estaba encendido ese año, pero cogiendo muchas bases por bola y batiendo mucho averaje a pocos jonrones. Como aquí se ve el por qué él no juega el siguiente juego contra China Taipei, el día siguiente, al final. Van a ver el bolazo que le meten y lo sacó del campeonato. Verán a Urrutia, que entró por él, lo hizo muy bien, a Nidelio, mandó giles. Verán como la gente abuchaba a Juan Castro, querían que ya Juan Castro no jugara más porque estaba de 20-0. Que batiera pero Luis Rodríguez. Juan Castro no le gustó, recuerdo que hizo señas y todo fea con el público, tuvo su cosa. El bateo de Kindelan, el bateo de Orrelli, que verán disertando Orrelli, bueno, esa fue la copa de Alejo Rey. Esa fue la copa de Orrelli y de Linares, pero de Orrelli. El juego no tuvo tanto carreraje. Verán a Rubén Ventura, a varios peloteros que fueron a Grandes Ligas. De recordarles que el equipo americano más fuerte fue para el tope en La Habana en julio y sobre todo ya para los panamericanos. Pero este fue un segundo equipo estudiándolo para al final unificarlo y tirárselo al mundo entero, pero a Cuba, para el Mundial de Italia como ocurrió y para la Olimpiada Exhibición en Seúl 1988. Como un efecto, aquí fue Rubén Ventura, Vicente Phil, varias gente de este equipo se unió a los Indianápolis y a otros que surgieron para los 82. 5-0, le echaba, aquí verán otras características particulares del partido. Juegazo tirado por el astro recientemente fallecido, Jorge Luis Valdés, pichazo. Cuba con su diagnóstico, repito, estelar de Luis Jurasa Campo Corto. Nunca entendí por qué Víctor Mesa no bate. A partir de ahí, ese evento, especialmente ya se quedó fijo ahí años. Segunda base Pacheco, segundo bate, tercera base Linares, tercer bate, cuarto bate Orestes Kindelan, se ya jugó como designado, quinto bate Casanova Redfield, sexto Luis de Gurriel de Field, séptimo Alejo Relli, creo que Relli debió estar más arriba en el line, ¿no? Octavo Juan Castro y noveno, repito, Víctor. Pero se me disfruten. Transmisión en inglés, el juego completo y aquí verán un resumen de un documental que se hizo de la Copa, que está en español, narrado por Jiki Quintana. Verán la transmisión en inglés, verán cómo hablan del béisbol cubano de ese momento, pero de antaño, y de las grandes ligas de ese momento, el 87. Y verán entrevistas a Tony Oliva, verán, muy interesante. Pongan el caption los que no hablan inglés, ¿ok? Para que se entiende clarito. Disfruten, disfruten otro clásico de nuestros años felices, esos grandes monstruos que eran grandes ligas y no lo hicieron. Mal para ellos. Verán, empiezo con Rabacheri, el antológico vampire norteamericano, lo que dice de algunos peloteros cubanos. ¿Okay? Suscríbanse al canal, comenten, compartan, aporten temas, aporten ideas. Queda Cuba libre, queda deporte, queda béisbol. El cumpleaños del niño. ¿Qué hizo el niño el día de su cumpleaños? El día que cumplió 20 añitos. Tenía la misma arroz en Ventura, por cierto. Esto lo dejo. Por cierto, después le picaron un key al final del juego. Yo tengo fotos de ese día, se transmitió. Tengo varias fotos de él.
Baseball and being selected to the national team is one of the highest honors in Cuba. The people of this island country have embraced the game, made it their own, and hold it in esteem. And tonight, USA Sports is proud to present the 1987 Intercontinental Cup live from Havana. It's the USA versus Cuba. Just 2 months ago, in an early round of the Pan American Games in Indianapolis, the heavily favored Cubans met an inspired American team. The U.S. won this one, but the Cubans went on to win the games in a dramatic final, confirming that they are still the best amateur team in baseball. But for U.S. amateur baseball fans, this was a moment to savor.
Network Sports, as we bring you a little history of sports first, as USA Network cameras come to Havana, Cuba, for the first live telecast of baseball. It's the USA versus Cuba, and this special occasion marked during the time that the Intercontinental Cup 1987 is being played. Hello, everyone. I'm Eddie Doucette, and joining me for these very special moments, the four-time college coach of the year, the wizard of college baseball, a man who knows a lot about international competition, Ron Frazier, the head man from the University of Miami. Welcome. Special moment here.
It is, Eddie. You know, this is a great place to watch baseball. The Cubans are great fans. They have a beautiful stadium here. They're anxious to see the United States play Cuba again. We haven't played them since the Pan American Games and what we did here down this summer. And so they're anxious to see us play and what kind of a ball club we have.
You know a lot about this Cuban baseball team. Around the world, they say that they are perhaps the very best, and yet your Pan American team beat them for the first time in 20 years.
Yeah. Well, that was special. We had a special ball club. We had a great deal of success with them, and now there's a new American ball club, one of the problems that we have every year. So we'll see what this ball club can come. This is a team that's going to lead us, and eventually a ball club will be made from the nucleus of this ball club to go to the Olympics.
Loose. Let me tell you, this is a team that's got to be loose. They're young. They've only been together for a couple of weeks. This is a young American team that has only had 2 weeks together and now playing their best baseball. They started out slowly. It's a round-robin tournament. It's a team that is led by the likes of Robin Ventura, Jay Noblaw, Billy Massey, and so many others. And this young American team that started out 4-4 in the first phase of the round-robin has now gone undefeated in the second and the all-important phase. Ready to go on the mound, the big left-hander, and this is one of the best they have in Cuba, Jorge Valdez. Valdez with a 2-0 record, with an average of 2.25, and the first American hitter will be Todd Mayo. Mayo's done a nice job so far. And you can see the mileage register there. I tell you, my math is not all that great, but we're going to try and figure out what that's like for you, see if we can get a mileage indication for you. This young man is a little over 6'2". Got a good breaking ball, and Coach Frazier, you've seen him before. Valdez now. Valdez is tough, Eddie. When he's on, he can be as good as anything. We have a few left-handed hitters in the lineup, and that might hurt us. Some of our better hitters look like they're left-handed, and Valdez really does a job on the left-handers. We'll see how he does against Mayo. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Todd Mayo. One of the things that Coach Mark Marcus had indicated he wanted to do was to put some people at the top of the order to probably get a little bit of a variety of pitches rather than the breaking ball to the left-handers when you get a Rob Ventura in there who can deliver some long ball power. Let's see if it works. And a breaking ball that Mayo takes, and it's a ball 4. So Valdez, who prior to this moment had pitched 12 innings in the tournament and had only walked 2, thus registers his 3rd walk of the Intercontinental Cup. And that's going to bring in Mickey Morabini. Boy, hasn't he been a surprise. Yeah, Morabini's doing a heck of a job for us. You know, he's a good infielder. They've got him DHing tonight, but you know, he's got good speed. He and the Mayo and run probably the best on this ball club. And, of course, they want to get those people on early because then they can do something. Morabini has been terrific, leading the club and hitting at .396. One ball and nothing. This stadium seats about 55,000. And they anticipate that before it's over, they could have close to 50,000 here tonight. All right, what's the word on Valdez, the left-hander? Sometimes three-quarter arm with a runner on, and particularly against the left-hand hitters. Jorge Valdez, around 88 miles an hour, his top fastball. Pretty good move over to first base. Ron, you seen this fella?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, he did a job on us down here. One of the 5 ball games, it's the only ball game I feel like we really weren't even in it. And he did a great job.
There's a high fly ball. It's out of right field. And the right fielder coming on. And Luis Casanova makes the catch for the first out of the ball game. So Morandini is retired. And that'll bring in a fellow that all of America, if you follow amateur baseball, certainly knows a little bit about. This is Rob Ventura, College Player of the Year. Terrific talent, hitting .343 in the tournament. Ventura with a couple of home runs and 7 runs batted in, but he has not played the last couple of games.
Yeah, he's had a little groin infection in a slide down here, and he got him infected. He's got some pain in there, and he hasn't been played for a couple of days. But I don't think he'd miss this one tonight.
Breaking ball, strike. Strike one. Incidentally, the umpires are from all around the world. Anibal Rosario from Puerto Rico behind the plate. Javier Canales from Puerto Rico, he is at first. Angel Rivera from Cuba at second. Kim Sim Ha from Korea at third. And they have umpires in left and right, Alejandro and Manuel Hernandez, both from Cuba on the left and the right field line. Here's the strike. But good pitch, good fastball right there.
Can get it up there around 87. And if he drops down a little bit and he throws that hard, it's awful tough on a left-hander.
And they love your baseball here. These folks know the game. Valdez, fastball, breaking ball, change. That's pretty much the variety. And now the count is 2-1. Valdez is 26 years old. For the year, now you put all the competition together, and you just take the cup competition and set it aside. You just look at Ron Polk, one of the coaches on the staff, who's done such a terrific job. Valdez is 14-14 over 218 innings, but his earned run average is 2.68. Toward the hole, there's Linares. What a play! And the double play they can't make. And on the play, Ventura will turn and come into second base. So the first baseman could not hang on. That is Alejo O'Reilly. And he couldn't hang on, and so they missed a chance to turn the double play.
That doesn't happen very often. I think he got out there, looked like he stretched out there a little bit too far, and then he couldn't react to the ball over to the side. Yeah, right there. Got out there too far, and he got himself tied up. He went out a little bit too soon. O'Reilly's playing first base, and he's really not their normal first baseman.
So there are 2 down, and the hitter now will be Billy Massey. There's a great story. A young man that just transferred from Davidson University to Wake Forest. His college coach went over there, and Billy went with him. And Massey really has been terrific also. 394, 3 home runs, 5 runs batted in. He has really emerged as a fine talent, improved his game considerably since last baseball season in college, played in the Summer League in Cape Cod, and has really done a terrific job. Runner at second base. That is Ventura. Count now, 2-0. U.S. first, live baseball. For the very first time from Havana, Cuba. And this is the world-known Cuban national team. They won the amateur championship in '86 in Holland. The Pan American winners this year in Indianapolis. And the pitch that misses low and in, and now the count is 3-0. 3 balls, no strikes. Runner at second base, top of the first inning. Well, you look at some of the numbers that this Cuban team has.
Isn't that amazing? 40 home runs in 11 ball games.
386 is a team average, and their pitching staff's not too shabby either. 3-0. And here's the strike. So Valdez gets the 3-0 pitch over. Now 3 balls and a strike. Cuba will wear two sets of uniforms. They'll wear a red when they're the home team, which they are tonight. They'll also wear a blue uniform, an all blue. That's Ventura in the background at second base. Took something off, and he got a beauty over the inside part. Great pitch. You know, he's just, like you said, he's a little bit older, got a lot of savvy, and he knows how to pitch. And if he's on, he's really tough. You know, Ron, we talked about the Cuban team a little bit and the job they've done, but this American team has not done badly. Just put together a couple of weeks, they're hitting .301 as a team. You know, that's true, Eddie. This club didn't have a practice before they entered this tournament. Ground ball third. And Linares will make the throw. Oh, he's got a great arm. And they have a great arm. Wow. So the Americans end up with a runner on, and they leave one. They got nothing. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Estadio Latino Americano in Havana, Cuba for the 1987 Intercontinental Cup. Tonight's game is brought to you by Old Milwaukee Beer and Old Milwaukee Light, two of America's great tasting beers. It doesn't get any better than this. And by Kemper and the independent insurance agents who represent us. Once you prepare, you'll ride with us. Kemper. Luis Ulacia is the shortstop for the Cuban team. Ulacia, a .324 hitter. He's a good one. He knows how to get on. Center fielder for the U.S. team, Billy Massey. And the pitcher will be Mark Beck. Beck is just a young man, 19 years old, Cal State Fullerton. And you talked to him a little bit about being nervous, and obviously there's the thought that, hey, this is a big experience, a great experience. Looks like we got a little problem out here. There goes Ron Polk going over to first baseman. Well, the problem happened to be a rosin bag, Eddie. Nothing to get excited about. That's the rosin bag out there. What about the rules? We haven't had a chance to discuss those. Anything different than what we see in American Major League Baseball? Or well, a little bit different. College ball, no. They have, 3 free trips to the mound, and the third time you have to take them, 2 in an inning you have to go. Not really. Slide at second base. They like to, keep the guy from going out and hurting anybody. Straight in slide, and they will call that on a double play. But basically the same rules. Ulacia takes the pitch now to even the count at 1-1. Ulacia, incidentally, hitting .302 for his career. And he, like so many of these other Cubans, have been on this national team for some time. This is full-time work for them. And he rips one to left. Played on one hop by the left fielder, Todd Mayo. And right away, the Cubans have a runner on. So a single to left by Luis Ulacia. Now, what kind of a running team do they have? Well, Mayer does a great job on this one. That could have been trouble, could have been extra bases. It's all right. Beck's got to settle down. He's just a young fella, and he's got to be nervous out there, Eddie. So he's got to bear down here. You don't want him to jump on you early because then they can really get tough. Can this team run? They can run. Whether they will or not, I don't know. They'll know that this American ball club hasn't had the experience, Eddie, so they might try to rattle them a little bit. Mark Beck now working to Antonio Tony Pacheco. Beck doesn't have a good move to first base. He does not. He does. He has an excellent move to first base. And he will mix it up, they tell us. Good change-up. Fastball about 88. Ulacia. Beck will turn it over there, and Ulacia is back. This team, this Cuban team, they have a lot of great instincts. But do they play what you would commonly call station-to-station baseball? Well, they do. What the problem is that they never get enough competition. And so what they'll do is they get bored out there, and they try to play long ball. The only time they really get together and start playing is when they're getting challenged. And when they're getting challenged, they get behind in the ball game. Then they play like the game is supposed to play. They'll start running, and they'll start doing the small things. Pacheco is a .436 hitter with 4 home runs and 15 runs batted in. And you can see the concern of the U.S. team, immediately trying to hold the runner close to the bag. This is a big inning team, Cuba. The runner goes. Here's the throw to second. Good throw. He's out of there. Whoa, a straight throw.
Second base by the catcher, and that is Mark Service, and he's the only member of this U.S. team that has international experience.
Right. Scott was our number one catcher with our Pan American team this summer, and he did a great job. There he goes. He gets rid of it in a hurry. Perfect strike. That's got to help. That's got to help.
That's a confidence builder.
It sure is.
And now with a 1-1 count, the big guy unravels the pitch, and it misses, and the count is 2-1. Let's go back and take a look at that last play again on the attempted steal. First of all, we're going to see how Mark Beck looks up close. Now maybe we'll hold it just a moment. And that's a hard shot to the second baseman, Sandiford. He'll go to first in time. Well, the little guy recovers.
Did a good job there. Stayed in front of the ball. Ball out front, scrambled, picked it up, made the play. I tell you, Eddie. You know, Beck made some good throws over to first base. And I believe that had to keep him pretty close. And maybe didn't get as good a jump as he normally would. Helped Scott Service out quite a bit on the throw.
Omar Linares. This is the man they talk about, the fellow that many people say if he were over in America would be playing in the big leagues, or at least standing right next to an opportunity to play at that level.
Look at this stance. This thing is amazing. We've played him about 7 times this summer, and I saw him play another 5 or 6 ball games, and he's got an unusual stance, but he sure can get the job done with that bat.
Outstanding talent, 20 years old today, and a ground ball that the third baseman Ventura makes the long throw on, and he can't get it over there. And so Linares, with young legs and great speed, is going to second base.
Yeah.
Omar Linares, good backup by the catcher, Service. He spent a lot of time talking to his teammates leading up to this encounter. In the round robin, this is the first time that the U.S. has had a chance to see the Cuban team other than on television. So Linares is on the throw over. Orestes Kindelan is the batter now.
Good hitter, a lot of power.
Hitting .538, Kindelan, with 7 home runs and 17 runs batted in. Way back. Home run, Cuba.
So that's a tough break. Eddie, he hit that ball about 385 feet. And he didn't even get all of it.
Not much that Noblaw, the right fielder, or Massey, the center fielder, could do with that one. And on the very first pitch, Orestes Kindelan hits his 8th home run of this tournament, and this is only the 12th game.
And the error really hurt them, you know. But Eddie, you gotta understand here. You got a bunch of young fellas here, 20 years old. College kids have never played before a crowd like this. I don't know what's in here tonight, but I venture to say it's probably around 40,000 people. And this is kind of a nervous thing for these kids.
Luis Casanova,
good changeup.
and he turns on the pitch that time, and the count is 0-1. Casanova at .435. Couple of home runs and 9 runs batted in. Casanova, incidentally, to give you an idea, as we look to the on-deck hitter, and that was Gurriel. I'm trying with this pronunciation. How am I doing, Ryan?
You're doing great, Eddie. I'm glad you're trying.
1-1 again. Well, Tommy Lasorda told me how to pronounce these names when I came down here, you know.
Tommy spent some years down here playing.
Mark Beck is on the mound for the U.S. 1-1 to count. And he misses inside with a pitch. And so the count now 2-1. Casanova, who is the hitter now, give you an idea how long he's been around, was the MVP in the Intercontinental Cup in Canada in 1981. And here's this fellow that's just 19 years old, a sophomore in college, working to this veteran. 3 balls, 1 strike, 2 down, and we're in the bottom of the first inning, and Cuba has struck already. They lead 2-0.
He's getting behind on him, Eddie, but the book on him is that he's got to mix speed because he's a good power hitter and he can hurt you. Let's see how Beck does. Turns in on a pitch that time, and a base on ball. So Casanova will go to first, and the Cuban team with 2 down and a runner on. And the left fielder will come in now, Lourdes Gurriel. Gurriel is 30 years old and hitting .357 in the tournament. There's a guy that likes to hit the first pitch, Eddie. And like you said, he hits the first pitch. Ventura with the long throw. Gurriel with pretty good speed, but he can't beat the throw, and so the Cubans are retired. But they got a couple of runs on the 2-run home run by Orestes Kindelan, and they lead it 2-0. The World Series is taking a night off in the States, but USA Sports is not. And we're down in Havana, Cuba for our first ever telecast of a baseball game from this island. And this is El Estadio Latino America. The stadium seats around 50 to 55,000. And right now, as Ron mentioned, about 40 in here. And the USA will send up their first hitter, Jade Noblaw. Noblaw hitting .361. He's really done a nice job. For a big guy, he's shown surprising speed. One of the better base runners on Mark Marcus's team. Mark Marcus, the coach from Stanford, who had such a great year during the college ranks. I'm Eddie Doucette. With me is Ron Frazier, and on the mound here is Jorge Valdez, who in the cup play is 2-0. And that's a pretty good ball. Center fielder Victor Mesa. Watch this guy now. And that ball will fall. Noblaw will go to second base. And Noblaw continues to hit the ball well down here in Cuba. Good power. You know, he's done a good job. Like you mentioned before, Eddie, he likes to run, and he's 7 for 7 stolen bases. I think he's leading the tournament in stolen bases. This is a good chance right here, Eddie. Nobody out. Service is coming up. Now, this is a fellow that the U.S. really is depending on. And again, we'll go back and look at a replay as Luis Casanova and Victor Mesa will watch the ball bound up against the fence. So the USA with no outs and a runner at second base. And Mark Service, who is the veteran. He has been against the Cuban team probably about 8 times in his young career. He's only 20 years old. Yeah, he's been an unusual thing. Most times the biggest problem is not getting enough Americans to ever repeat on our team. And Scott's one of the youngsters that's played with the junior USA team, and then he's played 3 years. This is his 3rd year playing with the USA team. Moments ago, you saw John Valentin, one of the hitters, awaiting an opportunity to come on up and take his whack. Mark Service is only hitting .250. Runner at second base. There's Noblaw. His job now, Eddie, is to try and go to right field, and he does it real well. Hopefully he can do this. You see the kilometers registered. And again, I'm going to beg an apology. If I had done one thing before coming down here, I probably should have gone to school and figured out how to work translate those. But that pitch there was probably somewhere around 90 miles an hour is what the... Now, someone's going to say you're wrong, and they're probably right. That's a well-hit little ground ball to the shortstop. They look the runner back and on to first, and Service cannot move the runners along. But he hit it right on the button to the shortstop, and Ulacia, the shortstop, makes a nice throw over to first. So holding on the play is Noblaw at second base. There's one out, and the U.S. will set up their next hitter, John Valentin. So Valentin will step in there and take his wax now against the Cuban left-hander. And that is Jorge Valdez. Breaking ball pitch. Check this infield out, Eddie. Look at how deep they're playing here. Valentini has not been hitting real well, does not have a lot of power. You know, good time, it looks like a good time for maybe a drag bunt. One out. Line good shot. Right at the left fielder. Goes back and pulls it down. Lourdes Gurriel. And so Noblaw will have to hang in there at second base. So a lead double now in jeopardy of not being any use to the U.S. team. As we're looking at 2 outs, and Stan Royer will come in.
the first baseman, and our local affiliates will be happy to know that the next break coming up will be one that will be all yours. So stand by at the end of the inning. Look back to second, and Royer with a strike of beauty, strike one. 1 ball and no strikes. We have 2 down. We're in the top of the second inning, and we are coming to you live from Havana, Cuba. The first time ever. Valdes with a runner at second, no block. Good breaking ball that time, and Royer will miss it, and it's 0-2. Royer hitting 133.
He hasn't played much, Eddie. He's playing tonight because of the left-hander Valdes, and Brian Cizark has been playing first base, and they felt that Royer can get in there. He's got good power, a good hitter, and hopefully we can, get some power out of him tonight.
Breaking ball, and of course the left-hander is known for a good breaking ball. 2 balls. No, I should say 1 ball, 2 strikes, and 2 down. Stand Royer at 133. And again, we'll remind you, for our local affiliates, will be coming your way after this half inning as a line drive goes to Casanova. And so the U.S., with a lead double, get nothing. For our local affiliates around the country, we're coming your way. The Cubans lead 2-0. We're back 2-0 Cuba. We go to the bottom of the second inning. And this is Alejo O'Reilly. Now you talk about a spectacular start in this cup. I'm sure Mark Beck, the young USA pitcher, is well aware of this. O'Reilly started out by hitting in 11 consecutive at-bats. And on the very first pitch, the changeup is gone. Eddie, he got all of that one, didn't he? Boy, oh boy, did he.
How can you... I guess it must be a great ball club, Eddie, if you got a guy that's hitting 548, hitting down in the number 7 spot.
Yeah, there he got it. And the interesting thing about it, O'Reilly was really not even their starting first baseman. The fellow with Munoz with a bad foot did not play, and O'Reilly's done a great job. That is his 9th home run, and their 42nd home run of this Intercontinental Cup. One.
Victor Mesa is standing on deck here.
As Mesa awaits his turn at bat, Juan Castro, the catcher, who's a fairly light hitting catch. He's not hit with a lot of success at 0.67, but they say he's got a fabulous arm.
Yes, got a great arm, great defensive catcher, works well, but hasn't really been a good hitter for them. But I can afford that with the kind of hitting they got, Eddie.
Mark Beck with a fastball, pretty good slider, which is probably his best pitch. An off-speed pitch or a change that he uses. The interesting thing is you watch Beck, he's a big, tall guy, and by the time he unravels, he's got pretty good-looking mechanics out there.
Yes, he does. He's a fine-looking pitcher. He's only a sophomore at Cal Fullerton.
Valentin, the shortstop, mighty deep. And that's a pitch that's a ball, and it's 3 balls and 2 strikes. So the Cuban team, we heard that they were a long ball hitting club, and that they are indeed. As you look at the second baseman there moments ago, Standiford, and you can see they're playing back. Wide open stance. Ventura. And he takes his time and measures the throw against the slow-running Castro. 1 out, 1 in. Bottom of the second inning. Cuba 3. USA nothing. Now here's the fellow that everybody loves to see play. This is Victor Mesa. And he was the MVP player in the 6th Cup in Belgium in 1983. He is what they call in the U.S. a hot dog.
Down here they call him the showman. He's quite a character, very, very aggressive, and he likes to play to the fans, but he does do a fine job. He's a great defensive center fielder.
Ventura, the college player of the year last year at Oklahoma State. Tight. Mesa, look at him. Oh, you didn't reach. You missed an opportunity. He is really something.
And the crowd really reacts, don't they?
And he drops down a little bit on Mesa. Mesa hitting .308. Again, at this half inning, we will remind our local affiliates that we will be coming your way once again. 2 balls, 1 strike, and 1 out. And the middle bat makes an interesting sound as Ventura throws over to the first baseman, and Stan Royer on the putout, and Mesa's retired. There he is. He's a crowd favorite. Probably not as talented right now at this stage of his career as some of the other Cuban players, but they do like to see some of his antics. And right now, the next Cuban hitter will stand in there, and that's Luis Urlacia, who is the shortstop and led off the game with a base hit. Change up away, ball 1. Mark Beck. You like this young guy's future? You know, he's got a good future, Eddie, because he's got the size. He throws a couple different pitches. His fastball's got enough velocity, and he seems like he knows how to pitch. He's gotten a couple bad breaks. The error in the first inning really hurt him, or else it'd be a different ball game at this time. Again, he changes up on Olachi, who can run pretty well. Standiford on the throw over, and they get him on a close play. But Cuba has come up with another run on the lead home run by O'Reilly. And for our local affiliate, here we come, 3-0 Cuba. Top of the 3rd inning, 1-0. Mark Standiford, the second baseman, is in there right now. Takes the pitch to even the count at 1-1. It's 3-0 Cuba over the USA. And the final, not the final game, but the final round of this Intercontinental Cup. As the shortstop out there looking on as the ball is hit high in the air. Second baseman back and called off by Casanova. And Luis Casanova, the right fielder for the Cuban team, makes the putout. So Standiford is retired. And there's 1 out here in the top of the 3rd inning. 1 out, Todd Mayo. Mayo, as we mentioned the first time around, has had a pretty good series and getting some good experience. He's only 5'8", 170 pounds from the University of California, and his home is in Los Gatos, California. So some of the natives down here, they might understand where that comes. He swings a little late and may have himself a hit. Coming hard, and a great play to the left fielder, Lourdes Gutierrez.
Yeah, that's the kind of ball club you got to try and beat. There's the ball. That's got to be a base hit. Gary O reacts. Stays with it all the way. Makes a great catch.
So it goes for an out, and coming into bat now is Mickey Morandini. Mickey's 5'11", 155 from Indiana, but his home is in Leechburg, Pennsylvania. And takes a breaking ball strike from Valdez. And now the count evens at 1-1. We're in the top of the 3rd. There are 2 down for the USA. And trailing 3-0 against the undefeated Cuban team. First baseman down there is Alejo O'Reilly. And the ball is foul. Both these teams coming into this game undefeated. Both these teams basically fielding a club that has the elements of an Olympic club, particularly the Cuban team. This is their best. There are 14 provinces in Cuba, and they pick the best players from each of those provinces, so this is the cream of Cuban baseball. Yeah, for the USA, however, there are other players out there that will compete for the Olympics.
You know, Eddie, this is the kind of ball club. They're going to try and develop a ball club for the '88 Olympics in Seoul, Korea, so that they're hoping that there's only one from our Pan American team. They feel that there'll be some of those ball players that they will be on that Olympic team. Hopefully 4 or 5 ball players from this ball club. But they've got to try and see as many players as they can to put them together.
And you saw Morandini, who is usually a good hitter, strike out, and he is now 0 for 2 against Valdez tonight. So, as we go to the middle of the 3rd inning, it's still Cuba 3 and the USA nothing. we're back live in Havana, Cuba. That's right. El Estadio Latinoamericano. And this is live baseball for the first time, Cuba versus the U.S. Bottom of the third, 3-0 Cuba. And a no-ball, one-strike count on Tony Pacheco. And he swings and fouls it back. If you were with us from the outset, you heard us mention that this is a very active first ball hitting team. Part of the press corps from around the world covering this Intercontinental Cup, which is the occasion that 10 teams started out. 6 teams remain in this round-robin tournament. This is the second and final round, and both these teams, the USA and Cuba, undefeated as of this moment. This is the same Cuban team that won the Pan American game. However, it is not the same American team. Mark Beck pitches and misses with it, so it is now 1 ball and 2 strikes to Pacheco. The Cuban team, incidentally, has now set a new Cup record for home runs, and that is 42. And this Cup series is not over with yet. First baseman over there, Stan Royer. We mentioned before that the USA team uses Brian Cesarek over at first base. We may see him yet tonight in the event that the Cuban team makes the pitching change. Cesarek, a left-hander. They started the right-hander, Royer, over there to face the left-hander Valdes. Now, Eddie, this American team got off to a bad start. They hadn't had a chance to play any games. They came into the tournament. They played over in the other division where Cuba wasn't, and they lost 2 ball games to China, 2 to Japan. They got down 4 games, and then they came back and won 4. 1-2 pitch tapped on the ground, cut off by Robin Ventura, and a nice play, and there's 1 out. So that, you know, they lost 4 games, 2 China, 2 against Japan. But they came back and they beat Nicaragua twice and Aruba twice, got them into the medal round, and they've been undefeated, so they keep getting a little bit better as they're playing. Omar Linares, 20 years old today, superstar in Cuba. This fella here is the one that everyone talks about. He has had a record in this cup, incidentally. This is a new record with 10 home runs, 25 runs batted in. He scored 21 runs, and this is the 11th game. You know, he's been up at the plate before the game started with a large birthday cake, and they celebrated his birthday here at the park. He's one of the favorite ball players of all time. Ron Pope, Mark Marcus, and his coaching staff in the USA dugout. Linares, 465. Reached on the error the first time up, and then it scored ahead of the home run by Kindelan, who hit the first pitch, and I mean he hit it a long way. 2 Cuban home runs, and that's the difference. They lead 3-0. Change up, hopped in the air, foul. Should carry to the seats as Royer is over there, and you won't get it. This ballpark, incidentally, 325 down the line, 345 to left and right, 380 to the alleys, and 400 to straightaway center field. But the ball jumps out of here pretty good. Yes, it does. It jumps out, and they're hit pretty good too, Eddie. But I just want to... Here's a shot of Skip Bertman over there. He's calling the pitches, relaying them to Scott Service, and doing a good job. Skip worked with me for 9 years, a great pitching coach, great coach down at LSU now. And 2-1 pitch, in the count, out of 3-1. I think Beck's doing a good job. He really is. He's mixing it up. I don't think he's as nervous anymore. If this American ball club can settle down, hold them here, score a couple runs, get it close, I think they're going to be a real challenge in this one. 3-1, 1 out, bottom of the third. And Linares, at 6'1" and 198 pounds, is now 3-2. Boy, there have been some great players that have played in this ballpark, Ron. Names like Monty Irvin, Henry Thompson, Sal Magley, Johnny Antonelli, you go back a few years, Max Lanier, Al John Frito. Our old buddy Tommy Lasorda played here. Bobby Bragan managed here. Lefty Gomez, Luke Easter. Remember some of these names? Oh, yeah, I remember them. Kind of young for those, Eddie, but I do remember them. And I believe he swung and missed, but Service Sakaki goes back and makes the play, and Scott goes to Royer, and that's it for Linares. So that's a big out that they got there. Scott bounces. He's a veteran ball club. He's really helped this ball club. The coaching staff was telling me today at practice how much Scott Service has meant to this ball club. I believe before we inadvertently called him Mark, but his name is Scott. You're correct. Orestes Kindelan. Boy, it's a big, strong man here. 2-run home run in the first inning on the very first pitch. Notice how spread out these Cuban hitters are. Most of them look like they're up there and they're built to go along.
The stances are a little different, but I'll tell you what, these are fine athletes. They play the game 12 months a year. They do a lot of special training in the baseball school that they live in. Weightlifting every day, running every day. It's a full-time job. They're really professionals, Eddie.
The interesting thing about these fellas is that they'll probably play the good ones till they're 35, 36 years old. Then they retire, become physical education instructors, and they've got a lifetime job, but they are recognized as national heroes here. This is the sport, make no doubt about it. Off-speed hit high in the air. Third baseman Ventura over, and that'll carry into the seat. We would like to take this opportunity to thank Cuban television for the use of their pictures. This is their pickup, so this is something that is unique and new for the first time. An American telecast using Cuban television production facilities. So we're getting to know each other, and we hope that the picture coming back is one that is palatable for those of you watching back in the USA. And that's a swing and a foul ball. It carries into the seats. There'll be no play. Now, Ron, one thing that we noted coming in there, and you with all your international competition kind of forewarned us about, and that is this is a terrific adjustment team. You can't do the same thing too long against this Cuban club.
That's right. You know, and this summer we used a very, very aggressive ball club. We ran a lot, we hit and run, and we did a lot of things. I think that we had success with it, but it sure did wake them up, and they've really worked at stopping that. They're aware of it. I think they feel like now the Americans are going to use this. And I think that they're making it a little bit more difficult on this ball club because of our success.
You got it up and in on them. Not too much on that pitch. They've given me a translation on these pitches on the kilometers, but I still can't quite figure it out. But needless to say that the deck is about 88 tops. There's our score, 3-0. El Estadio Latinoamericano. Kindelan, a 6-foot, 207-pounder weight. And missing with a pitch away, and the count is now 3-2. And there's your home umpire tonight. And again, umpires from around the world. Aníbal Rosario from Puerto Rico. They have 6 umpires working. 3 of them are from Cuba. Beck took something off, hit high in the air, carrying foul. And the left field is called off by the umpire down the line. Very nonchalantly, I might add.
You know, I think he's working him over real well, Eddie. He's using a changeup, which he has to against some of these strong hitters, and then he's bringing the fastball up and in, hoping that he'll get the ball to get a couple strikes ahead, and then, you know, work again on the changeup to get the out pitch.
Way upstairs in Kindelan will walk, and that'll bring in the next Cuban hitter, that is Luis Casanova. So the first walk, or the second walk now, given up by Mark Beck. Beck, incidentally, coming in here during the college season, had a record of 6-3 at Cal State Fullerton. And he struck out 81 and walked 49. Well, he had decent control for a young man. He's just 19 years old and a sophomore. He's from Torrance, California. Casanova's 30. Been around. And hitting .435 on the way in. And that pitch a little over 80 miles an hour.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's not going to remember this. I mean, forget this night here with about 45, 50,000 people in the stands with a pressure ball game like this. It's going to do this youngster a lot of good, and hopefully it'll help him in international baseball if he continues on.
And of course, that's the idea of this whole thing. And unfortunately for the U.S. team, they only have 2 weeks together. They couldn't afford to take more time away from school. And they're trying to get a look, not only with the fellas you had in Indianapolis, but this group to see who they might have in 88. And that hit him.
That's tough, Greg.
That hit him, and he's not happy. So Casanova will go on down to first base. The training corps will come out in duplicate to make sure that he's all right with a little ethyl chloride. And there they are.
Well, you can tell how valuable they are when they send 2 trainers out there for getting hit on the arm.
Amen. I mean, these fellas are like the sumos in Japan. You know, you can't do anything wrong if you're a Cuban baseball player. And they change them. They move them around. They've eliminated a couple of the people that they had in Indianapolis. They had more like 4.
Yeah, the coaching staff.
And they changed the coaching staff as well. Yes, you're right. Is that what happens eventually to you fellas? They just kind of,
That's how you get rid of coaches if you lose.
but blow you away after a while, huh?
I can't say enough about this this crowd here tonight, Eddie. You know, it's a beautiful night. And to see, I don't know how many here, it's certainly a lot more than when we started this game, maybe 45, 50,000 people here to see an amateur baseball game. It's just great to see a crowd like this in this beautiful stadium.
And they were talking about it all day here in Havana. This is a very big event. Up to this point, it's interesting because we saw a game last night. The Cuban people, other than their own team, favor the U.S. And every time the U.S. kids go on the field, they root for the USA,
Yes, they do.
believe it or not.
They like the style of the USA play, and they like to see their team challenged, and that's the one thing that they don't see.
High pitch, but a swing and a miss by Lourdes Curiel, who now has a count of 0-2. And a pitcher warming up in the bullpen, the left-hander. We'll get a name for you on that one. That was just Valdez throwing on the side. Nothing more than just staying loose between innings. That's kind of interesting. Pitching during the game and yet still throwing while his team is at bat. Do you see a lot of that?
No, you don't see too much, but it usually in a long inning. This hasn't been that long an inning, but I guess he just wants to stay loose.
Kindelan is at second. Casanova's at first. The grip of Mark Beck. Throws a fastball, a slider, a change. Slider the best pitch. Fastball that time hit high in the air. Stan Royer calling. And with 2 outs, Sandiford calls him off at the last moment. And the second baseman makes his play. So Cuba held scoreless in the third. They leave a pair, and for our local affiliates, it's still Cuba 3 and USA nothing. El Estadio Latinoamericano. As we go to the fourth, and the first USA hitter, Rob Ventura, takes the pitch. A ball one. A little history tonight. The first time a USA team has played baseball here in Cuba that has been televised back live to the States. Jorge Valdez pitching to Rob Ventura, and the count goes 1-1. They tell us that Ventura's got just about everything it takes to be a good, top-notch professional player.
Good defensive ball player, Eddie. Good arm. Great hitter. You know, I think the only thing he does lack, he's not real fast afoot, but he's got everything else going. He's going to be a high draft choice next year after his junior year at Oklahoma State.
That last pitch around 84.5 miles an hour. I'm starting to catch on here, Coach. I got these.
I'm glad you are.
I got so many things down here, most charts and everything trying to explain. Jorge Valdez, as he turns the breaking ball over that time, and the count now 3 balls and a strike.
You know, you wonder what he's going to do now. If they get a runner on, are they going to play for 1 run, or are they going to try and play big inning? And that's a decision that Mark Marcus is going to have to make. And I think they'll try and play 1-run baseball to try and get
easy play on the comebacker that time, 1-3.
To try and get a little closer, to put a little bit more pressure on. Becky's doing a good job now. He seems to be holding them, and we've got to get a run or 2 so that we can get close.
And Billy Massey will be the USA hitter. 6 foot, 180 pounds. 21-year-old from Wake Forest, Manchester, Connecticut is his home. And what an experience this is, it'll have a chance to talk about. Massey, if you can believe this, had a slugging percentage of .741 and an on-base percentage of .521 last year at Davidson. Boy, those are incredible numbers.
Yeah, sure. I talked to him before the game. He had played 3 years at Davidson, which is a Division II school, and his coach went over to Wake Forest, and he felt like he wanted to get up and play in Division I baseball, feeling he'd play a better schedule. So he's going to try it his senior year, and I think he'll do real well.
That last pitch was an indication of something that Ron Polk was talking to Billy about at practice today, and that is he's got to make that move back with the hands initially instead of having to move while he's at the plate. Set his hands back because he's swinging a little late on the fastball. Breaking ball. That pitch in the 70s somewhere. My chart doesn't go that low. 3-0's our score. We're in the top of the 4th inning. And Billy Massey is the hitter. 2 balls and a strike. And now 3-1. Massey had a terrific year in that Cape Cod League, and as a college coach, you send a lot of your kids out to summer baseball?
Most of the kids go that way. They'll play up in Alaska. The Cape Cod is a very popular league, the Valley League, and there's some other independent amateur teams around. So the youngsters feel like that after the season, they keep going and play this summer. It just makes them a better ball player, and they get more exposure.
That's the second walk issued by Valdez. And Noblar will be the hitter. Jay has a double. And at this point, that's the only hit by the USA. And with 1 out and a runner on, here's Noblar. He's one of the bigger men on the USA team. He's over 6'1", about 185 pounds. And lives in Houston, Texas. Plays at Rice University. All Southwest Conference performer. Runner first, and they throw over to try and hold him. The first baseman is Alejo O'Reilly. And Valdez is on the mound. They pretty much stay with their lead man on the mound in the event they get a good lead, obviously, but even if it's a close game, they like to stay with one pitcher, whereas the U.S. may bring in 2, 3, maybe even 4 pitchers tonight. Why?
Well, I think that the only success against the Cubans in international baseball really is the Japanese the Chinese, a couple years ago beat them and twice, and they used 2 or 3 pitchers, and in talking to them before I took over the Pan American game, that's what they said they had success with. So we tried that in all 7 ball games that we played them this summer. We used 3, 4 pitchers a ball game, and it seemed to be effective, and I think that's what this USA team will continue to do, Eddie.
Noblar at Rice, 387. Preseason All-American pick with the runner leading away. Billy Massey at first with 1 down. And that's foul back and out of play. That pitch about 85, almost 86 miles an hour. Finally got it. 3-0. Top of the 4th. Coming to you live from Havana, Cuba. And the much talked about game between the USA and the Cuban Nationals. We saw the catcher Castro pop out of there. And again, the word on Castro is that they made a comparison, Mark Marcus did, of Castro and Bob Boone. Terrific arm, good instinct for the game, a strong understanding of what to do and when.
Right, and the hitting isn't that important in this situation. You know, he handles pitchers real well. Like you said, he has a great arm and just does a great job of catching. So, you know, he's a key to this Cuban ball club.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. Valdez working very carefully to keep the runner on base. Billy Massey. Massey's one of the better runners on the team. Massey is 4 for 4. So they have their scouting reports, and there he goes. There's your throw. And Massey is safe at second base. Boy, he got a nice break on him there, didn't he?
Good break. Looked like he went on the first move. It looked like he was going all the way, and as soon as Valdez made his first move, he was gone. Got a great jump.
There's the catcher's throw again.
Good slide.
You know, they'll tell you here that if you're going to steal a base on the Cuban team, you've got to steal it off the pitcher, not on Castro.
That's
He's too
right.
good.
He's too good. You've got to do it on the pitcher, and I think that's exactly what Massey did.
And Noblar with a 2-2 count, swings and misses on a pitch that Valdez took a little something off of, and quickly they throw it out there, and the ball almost gets away. The Cuban team that once in a while can get a little lackadaisical. They have a problem with concentration because they're not always challenged that much.
Yeah, that's been one of their problems. I guess it's a great problem to have. But they just haven't had a lot of competition, and they're so good that they just relax and have fun out there, and then when they do get in a tough ball game, it's a lot harder to tighten up.
Here's Scott Service now. Scott 0 for 1, bounced out to the shortstop the first time up. Service, while he's not had a great average in the Cup, is very good at moving the runners along. He's a smart player, calls a good game, and Billy Massey at second base with a 2-out situation. 0-1, now becomes 1-1. They throw it back behind the runner there as the second baseman covering Tony Pacheco. You know, I visited with Billy a little bit earlier today, and he's one of the American kids, like the Cuban club, that really believes strongly in weight training.
Well, I think that's the future baseball. I think that's where the power is coming from. Certainly the Cubans live on this, and the American teams have been doing this. The colleges and the universities have been doing it, even in the high school situation. They believe in the weight training, that the stronger you are, the better you're going to be. And it certainly has paid off. I know it has for my program at the University of Miami. We really do a lot of weight training, and it helps.
1 ball, 2 strikes to count. We have 2 outs. Jorge Valdez. The catcher is Juan Castro. And the hitter here is Scott Service. Back up the middle. Shortstop with a pretty smooth play, and that's it for Service. So Ulacia on to O'Reilly, and the USA is done in the top of the 4th inning. No runs, no hits. They leave 1. There was a steal, and it's still 3-0 Cuba. We're back live from El Estadio Latinoamericano in Havana, Cuba. And USA Sports proud to bring you this occasion. The stadium now just about filled up. And they will have close to 50,000 as Alejo O'Reilly swings and misses on a pitch right there.
Likes that first pitch, doesn't he?
Yeah, a lot of them do. A lot of them do. He swung at a pitch that was a little over 80 miles an hour. O'Reilly with a home run the last time up. 1 of 2, and the reason why Cuba leads it 3-0. The U.S. with just 1 hit. Both teams with an error to this point. And Mark Beck, the sophomore from Cal State Fullerton, works. And the count now 0-2. If they decide to make a move to a relief pitcher, at what point do you take a fellow like Beck and maybe move him to the sideline?
Well, I think that, if they get in any trouble now, I think they were planning on using 3, but I think that if as close a ball game as it is now, I think they'd go with Dan Kite. He seems to be the guy that's their closer, and he hasn't pitched in a while. So I think that, he could give you that good 4 or 5 innings, and they'd go with him.
Kite has done a terrific job for them here. He can really blow it in there. He's got good velocity and an earned run average of 2.19, and that's mixed in with 4 losses in the first round. USA now playing its best baseball. Still 0-2. And that's a foul ball. The 8th Intercontinental Cup. And Cuba has dominated this, as they do so many things in amateur baseball. However, they did lose the cup in 81. And they got it back in 83. And they're proud about this team. O'Reilly around 198 pounds. Big, strong guys. You get up close to these fellas, and I mean, they got arms on them like blacksmiths.
Yeah, they're men. We were just talking about how great they've done in this international baseball. When we beat them in the Pan American Games this year, it was the first time that they had lost a ball game in the Pan American Games in 20 years.
Incredible. They are a dominant team. Which brings to mind preparation and scouting, which I want to go over with you, Ron, in a moment. And that's a foul ball as O'Reilly swings a little bit late. How extensive was your scouting and the reports that were submitted to you in preparation of the Pan American Games?
Well, we really didn't have much of a scouting report on them. I got a chance to see them play the year before I took the team in the World Championships in Amsterdam, Holland, but really didn't have much report. But we did get a chance to play 5-game series with them before the Pan American Games, and we saw a lot and got a good scouting report.
There's a base hit to center field. So O'Reilly, he had to work for it, but he got his lead single here in the 4th inning. Those are not cheers, those are boos. And the reason is that Castro is not having a good series.
No,
they do it just the opposite here. You might
sure
think
do.
that they're giving
They're
him some
whistling
support.
pretty good.
Yeah, they're whistling real good right now. Runner on, nobody out. And he tries to lay one down, and the crowd is on him now.
They're really on him now.
Well, what's next for Castro? That's the question.
In
in most leagues that you're playing, you know, you don't really care about what your catcher's hitting. And, you know, he's not hitting that bad. But with the kind of ball club the Cubans have, they want everybody hitting way over 300.
Castro's 33, so he's just about ready for that white fence in the pasture.
And he takes the pitch. The count is now even at 1-1.
Had kind of an American look about him, that gentleman. Incidentally, unlike most American ballparks that you broadcast from, we are not behind home plate. We're down the third baseline, so we got a different perspective. Bounces in front, Service knocks Castro out of the way, and the runner at first will go to second base.
We got Service saying that the hitters stayed in the way, backed off, and Service wasn't able to get out after that pitch. And O'Reilly goes to second base. He backs off. He's got to give the catcher a little room in there to get out there and get that ball. That's a pretty close play on interference.
Go on the pitch. O'Reilly to second base. No out. Castro now. 2 balls and 1 strike. And we're in the bottom of the 4th, and Cuba with a 3-0 lead.
That really hurts, Eddie. It takes you out of the double play situation. Nobody out.
Now you got to try and keep them fairly close. O'Reilly, not terrific foot speed. They don't have a great deal of speed, but once in a while they'll turn themselves loose, and here's a walk to Castro. So 2 on, no outs. Victor Mesa, and immediately some action in the bullpen from the U.S. And the man we talked about, Dan Kite, has gone down to get to work. Yeah, maybe a little prematurely, but they're going to do what they can now. And here comes Skip Bertman coming out to save a little time here to see if they can give Kite some opportunity to get warm in a hurry. The USA trying to stay close to this veteran Cuban national team.
You know, you can look for here is situation here with Mesa, Victor Mesa. He should be bunting. He's not a real good bunter, but what he does well is he fakes the bunt and he slashes. So look for him maybe to fake the bunt and slash. We'll see what kind of a defense the United States puts up on this. But it's a definitely bunt situation.
The thing about Mesa to keep in mind on the reports that we've seen that he's particularly weak on the ball that's in on the hands. And normally, unless he's changed his style, is a square around all the way bunter.
Well, watch now. He's going to give it here. I think he's going to slash. He's going to set him up and look and give him the slash. No reaction on the third baseman Ventura. Here he comes in. Slash.
There it is.
Double play.
Good chance. And they get it. And Royer runs it over to make sure that the runner at third goes nowhere. What a call. Right on top of that one, Coach.
Yeah, well, I saw him enough this summer.
And here it is again as they turn the double play. Very nicely handled.
Boy, that helps. 2 down, runner on third base.
And the runner on third is Alejo O'Reilly. And now Luis Urlacia will be the hitter. And he takes a big cut, and it's 0-1. So a very timely double play. And we were looking for the slash because Mesa has a history of being a square around bunter when he's going to do that. And you can see he was set up to do something differently. Urlacia, incidentally, with a runner at second base, and Mark Beck trying to bail himself out here in the 4th inning. Urlacia had a terrific Pan American game series, 522. There's your runner at third, not second. And the ball fouled back.
Eddie's probably the best runner on their ball club. So the infielders can't play too deep on this guy.
Urlacia with good speed. O'Reilly at third with so-so speed. And the count now, 2 balls and 2 strikes. I mean, these guys, they swing a baseball bat and they come up with softball averages. 522, as a team, they're hitting 386.
42 home runs in this series. And that pitch is upstairs. Getting himself in a little trouble now, Ed. Will you see a day in the near future where the U.S. can compete on the same level with the Cuban nationals? Well, that's going to be hard to do because, they're, like I said, they're more the professional. They have that training site. They go. That's well hit. Right field, right, however, has got to play as the wind knocks it down. The wind blowing in, and he makes the play. So it started out pretty well, and Olacia flies out, and O'Reilly dies at third. So they get no runs. We'll pick up that story on the way back. 3-0 Cuba. We're back, and we're going now to the top of the fifth inning. The USA with a good defensive staying power here in the bottom of the fourth inning to prevent Cuba from adding another run. And now they'll send John Valentin to the plate, and Valentin will take a pitch. And it's a strike one. Valentin from Seton Hall. Here's a young guy that I think has really improved his game recently. Not only through the summer, but during this Cup Series. He's matured very nicely. Jorge Valdez. And Valdez is a 1-1 count. Yeah, coaches really like Valentin. You know, they say he's not that good a hitter right now. He's just a youngster, but he's a great defensive infielder. They've got some good infielders here, but they're going to let it and go with him for defense. Cuban team has made a change in right field. They have Emilio Urrutia in right field. So Luis Casanova has come out of the ball game. And Urrutia has gone in. Valentin with a 2-ball, 1-strike count. And now the count is even at 2-2. What are your thoughts? I want to go back to the point about will we ever get to a point where we can compete with this team? But before that, they had the pitcher warming up. Do you think they'll make a change? I don't think so. I think they'll try and go with Beck one more inning. And remember, we have the DH here, so you don't pull the pitcher for a pinch hitter. And now the count is full of 3 balls and 2 strikes. Valentin, a smooth fielding shortstop from Seton Hall. And a nice play out in left field by Lourdes Gurriel. So Valentin retired, 1 out here in the top of the fifth. The USA trailing 3-0, and it'll be Stan Royer to come in and hit. And that's the second time tonight that Valentin is lined out to the left fielder. 1 down, U.S. with just 1 hit. And the Cubans now with 5. Jorge Valdez doing a nice job. One hit. 1 hit for the USA. Royer at 6'2" and 195 pounds from Eastern Illinois. Charleston, Illinois is home. During the regular season, he hit .320 as a freshman and has a .307 career average at Eastern Illinois. He is going to be a junior this year. Pretty good baseball down there at Eastern Illinois. And he swings in a pitch and misses. And now the count of 2 balls and a strike. Ron Frazier, coach, University of Miami, a veteran of the international scene and baseball around the nation. Do you think we'll see a point in the near future, as we were saying before, where we can compete with this Cuban club? I think it's kind of difficult. Like I said, they're just about a professional ball club. They play about 10 or 11 months a year. The United States team is always going to be a team where it's been changed every year because of the professional draft. And young man, after his junior year, it feels like his chances are best to go to the pros then. And so it's kind of hard to have somebody more than 1 year. Scott Service saying that he played last year is probably the only one. There's a fly ball, a shallow center field. Victor Mesa will have a play, and there'll be 2 out. That you know, Scott is an unusual one. It's played in 2 years of it, but that's very unusual. Hopefully for this Olympic team, Major League Baseball might let some of the drafted ball players play on that team, sign before, don't give them any money, keep them as in the amateur status, and then let them go to Seoul, participate for the United States in the Olympics, and then sign the following year, or go away and play the following year. This could help. Major League Baseball has to start cooperating with some of these young people. Mark Sandiford is the hitter against Jorge Valdez. 1 ball and no strikes to the littlest man on the USA team at 5'7", and he swings and fouls it back. But surprisingly, little as he is, this young man from Wichita State has good power, particularly to right center field.
Yes, he does. And we got to start getting some people on base, Eddie, and we can't let this game slip away. It's getting into the 5th inning now, and
there's a breaking ball that he taps to the shortstop. And Ulacia throws it over to O'Reilly, and down goes the USA. 1, 2, 3 in the 5th. So they get nothing, and they still trail it. It's Cuba 3 and the USA nothing. Well, we're back. El Estadio Latinoamericano. And the first hitter, Tony Pacheco, takes the first pitch and rips it off the center field wall for a long double. So Pacheco with his first hit of the ball game.
Mason does a great job on this. Hits the wall, backs up, makes a good pickup, makes a good throw.
But you still can't stop the ball.
No, you
going
can't.
off the top of the fence, can you? That thing was way up there. So Billy Massey in center field, giving it everything he had, but not quite enough. And now Omar Linares, who is the third baseman, takes the first pitch. And it's ball 1 and no strikes. Linares has reached once on an error, and he scored ahead of the home run. And here's a fly ball to right field. Right fielder over toward the gap, and he pulls it in. And the runner at second will tag and come to third. What a throw, though. And Ventura on the short hop stops the ball. The right fielder, Jay Noblaw, made quite a throw, but not enough to catch Pacheco, who runs pretty good. He's over at third base. 1 down, runner at third. Watch it.
Great throw.
Maybe a little high.
Yeah.
That's a tough play when you got a runner going. They run so well and so instinctively.
I think we got the break in the center field. It went off the wall. Usually when they commit that close to the wall and it bounces off, they've got to chase it. He could have come to third, but he held him to a double. And that right there held it and stopped him from scoring a run.
Orestes Kindelan, the designated hitter, against Mark Beck. And Kite is up again. So this may be the last inning for Mark Beck. Beck has allowed 3 runs and 6 hits to this point, and was not helped by an error in the first inning. 2 home runs have been the damaging shots for the Cuban team. One by Kindelan, the hitter now, and by Alejo O'Reilly.
It's a big out right here.
Shortstop, infield playing up. They look the runner back, and they'll go get the runner going to first, and they hold the runner at third. Now, the infield was up that time, middle distance, and they were able to keep the runner at third.
Can't let them get too far ahead. You got to play like that. You know, the kind of ball club they have, you know, that run was important to keep them from getting the momentum. We've got to cut them down. We've got to come back, and the United States team has got to score a run, put some pressure on.
All right, there's your bullpen, and that is Kite that we've talked about. Good speed, and here for the first time is Hermedilio Urrutia. 5'9", 154 pounds. And the runner at third base, and that is Pacheco. Beck still working and doing a good job against a veteran team. Remember, this young man's only 19 years old. Urrutia. Many heroes over here in American baseball. And when you come through here and you talk to these Cuban baseball fans, they want to talk about the World Series. They want to talk about some of the great players that played for the Washington Senators and the Minnesota Twins. And we'll remind our local affiliates that the next break coming your way will be yours. That's a well-hit fly ball. Massey back. Has room, however. And the USA is out of the inning. So Beck does a good job. After a lead double, it does not score. And at the end of 5, it's still Cuba 3-0 here for our local affiliates. The Cubans have certainly sent their share of big leaguers to the U.S. That is Camilo Pascual, one of the fine ones, a pitcher for the Washington Senators in years gone by, but just one of a legion of terrific talents that has come over here from this island. They've sent so many of them over here as we go to the top of the sixth, and it's going to be Mayo to lead it off here as Valdes rolls right along, allowing no runs and just one hit. And just like they have their own heroes that have come this way to the USA with their heroes that are popping up in the minds and on the tongues of the Cubans these days.
We have one that pitched that did a great job. Jim Abbott, the young pitcher that we had with the Pan American team this summer from Michigan State and Michigan University, with one arm, actually one hand, and came out here and did such an outstanding job. Beat the Cubans in our first game that we beat them down here, and it'll be a night that many of the Cubans will never forget, as they tell it, and he's a real national hero down here.
Todd Mayo, 1 ball and 2 strikes, and they strike him out. So Mayo caught looking at a pitch, and Valdes has come up with another strikeout. For Valdes in the ball game, that's number 3. Ricky Morandini. Getty little guy here. Indiana University. Fastball that time. That time he had some pretty good velocity on that one. Go to the chart. He got about 88, almost 89 miles an hour. Morandini hitting at 380. 3-0 Cuba. Top of the 6th inning. And he took something off and nailed the outside part of the plate. Answer the count. Now what are they saying here? They got the ball strike count wrong. I believe it's 0-2. Now the umpire is indicating to the scoreboard. They still have it wrong. 3-0 is the score of our ball game. Jorge Valdes. And the teams remaining in the final round of the Intercontinental Cup: Canada, Cuba, South Korea, the U.S., Japan, and Taipei. Big kick by Valdes. Let's see, they're trying to straighten that ball strike count out now. Now they've amended it, and it's 3-1, they're telling us. And that's a fair ball. Linares with a low throw, and O'Reilly can't get it, and the USA will have a runner over at second base. Morandini, and they're saying that it's a hit and an error. They're awarding a hit and an error on the throw to Morandini. So the second error of the ball game for the Cuban team. And the USA with a runner on, and Rob Ventura is the hitter. Ventura has missed the last couple of games. In fact, has only played 1 game in this stadium. He had an infection that caused some lymph nodes to swell, and this is the first night back, so he's getting a chance to look at some pitching. Now, Ventura, a left-hander, usually pretty good against left-hand pitching.
Yeah, he does. He's one of those good pure hitters that hits the left-hander just as well as he hits the right-hander. And that's what makes him such a great hitter. And, Eddie, I think that we're going to see the last of Beck. I think Height's going to come in the beginning of this next inning. Dan Kite, who had been warming up the last couple of innings. And there's a little pop-up foul to this side. You know, we keep talking about the likes of Camilo Pascual and some of the other players that have been products of Cuban baseball. Tony Oliva, of course. Barbaro Garbe, the most recent player in Major League Baseball. Got a little trivia for our viewers out there. The last, well, maybe the only, all-Cuban triple play in Major League Baseball took place in 1960. I want you to think about it, and we'll tell you a little bit. That's a sharply hit ball to the hole and right. USA may try and score a run. No, they hold a runner at third. And it's up the line. I think they may have had a run on that one, but Ron Polk holding the runner smartly. No sense taking a chance now. Down 3. Yeah, it's a situation like that. You know, you can't say enough about that. You know they got great arms. He's out there defensively. Ron Polk held him up. He could have let him go, and as it worked out, he would have scored.
But it's one of those decisions. You know, you don't want to take yourself out of an inning. And hopefully you can get something going, maybe have a big inning.
So you have one out and runners at first and third. Billy Massey is the hitter. And it's a good time to hold somebody up because Massey has been a productive hitter in this Cup Series. And now the manager, Jorge Fuentes, I believe that's him coming out of the Cuban dugout. This is also a new manager that they have, and now they've got another left-hander warming up in the Cuban bullpen. That is Omar Ajete. Cuba itself does not have a lot of left-hand hitters. In fact, you do not see a lot of left-handers in this Cup. But the U.S. does have 3 hitters in a row that bat from the left side. So they'll stay with the left-handed pitching to try and eliminate the power part of the USA order. And that would be the top 3 men. Massey, the cleanup hitter. 382 in Intercontinental Cup play. This is the 8th Intercontinental Cup. And they hold these cups every 2 years, and then on the years in between, they have another play. It's the national championships, right?
Right. The World Championship is held on the odd year. Last 2 years ago, the World Championship, then the Pan American, then the Cup.
No balls and a strike to Billy Massey.
And they got to stay out of the double play in this situation, and they've got to score a run. The United States team has to get some momentum going. A double play here takes them out of the inning, and there we go again, and they're going to be struggling again.
Runners at first and third, and the best home run hitter so far, Billy Massey, with 3, is in there. And the count is 0-2. Again, we'll remind you, you're seeing a graphic in the lower right-hand corner of your screens, which is a kilometer, and that's a speed gun that they have here, measuring the velocity of each pitch. As we go along, occasionally, we'll try and translate some of those, but Valdez is at best up around the high 80s. That's a high fly ball to shallow center. Mesa comes on with 1 out.
Not a great arm.
Runner tag, starts, and then holds. So there are 2 outs now. USA with Ventura at first. Victor Mesa coming back to his position in center field. And Mickey Morandini is the runner at third with 2 down. Two down, Noblar. Noblar with the only, well, actually one of the 3 hits by the USA. We've had 2 in this inning, but the only hit prior to the 6th inning. Hete continues to warm for the Cuban national team. On deck for the USA is Scott Service. As we have a little fun here tonight, making some sports history. First live telecast using Cuban facilities and pictures back to the USA. No balls and 1 strike. Now Cuba has suddenly made a change in their bullpen. The left-hander, Ajete, just sat down, and suddenly they've gone to a right-hand pitcher, Rogelio Garcia. Well, maybe they're not going to worry too much about the top part of that order, the left-handed part of the USA order. That's blowing in the dirt. Runners hold, first and third. And that pitch with not much velocity at all, a breaking pitch down in the dirt. Kids were really looking forward to this game tonight.
Yeah, they are. This is they've heard so much about it, and you know, they saw TV this summer with the Pan American Games, and they're real excited about it, playing in a big stadium like this with a big crowd.
Sharply hit, shortstop, easy playing on the fourth. Urlacia to Pacheco, and the Cubans still lead 3-0. Here.
Well, it happened to me a lot because I started in Cuba. I started playing baseball when I was 5 or 6 years old. And right there, I used to go to school, work in the farm, and play baseball every day. It's a lot different than here because, especially if you live over here in Minnesota, you don't have enough time to play baseball. and you have 2 or 3 more sports to play, you know, basketball, hockey, football, all those great sports, but in Latin America you only have one sport like in Cuba, and you play all the time that sport, and this is one of the reasons to develop yourself to be a good ball player.
Can you compare the level of play at the high level in Cuba to the American game?
Bueno, now, you know, you come from some kind of...
And Gurriel with a 2-strike count, and he swings and misses and strikes out. So Gurriel is struck out by Beck, who is still on here in the bottom of the 6th inning. And our score is still Cuba 3 and the USA nothing. Good to hear from Tony Oliva. And you don't think that he isn't one of the most talked about baseball players from Cuba. They still like to ask how he's doing, what is he doing. Those that don't know that he's still in a coaching capacity with Minnesota, but they love him, and he has a lot of people here that can quote his statistics when he plays. Big punch by O'Reilly. Boy, O'Reilly swings that bat, doesn't he? Has his 3rd hit of the night. Alejo O'Reilly, who is hitting .576 and had the 11 consecutive hits to start the cup, continues red hot. And he's still hitting in that number 7 spot, Eddie. He's just having a great, he's a great hitter. You know, he's got great power. He took that ball and drove it into left field. The first time up, he took the first pitch and drove it out to the right. Great hitter. And Castro hearing the boo-birds, the whistles, the cowbells, everything. Those are not cheers, those are boos. And Castro has really had his problems. The Cuban catcher is 0 for 1. O'Reilly, incidentally, is hitting over, has a slugging percentage of over .500 in this series. It's a well-hit ball, left field. Left fielder right there, however, and Todd Mayo makes the play. And the Cuban fans were hoping upon hopes that Castro had finally found a home.
Yeah, he looked like he might get it. They got him to their feet, but good play out there. Didn't hit it. Got it up in the air a little bit too much, Eddie.
Victor Mesa now. Mesa 0 for 2. He walked and then was part of a double play, and it came back in the 4th inning, and it was a big double play at the time because it took Cuba out of possibly another inning where they could have scored some runs. He lined out, and Victor Mesa now with a count of 1-0. Mesa 293. Have you thought about that all-Cuban triple play, Coach?
I don't want to cheat because I know.
You know. What a guy. You know it all. You know that?
Well, I heard you talk about it.
Oh, you're eavesdropping, huh? 2 balls, no strikes.
This guy really is a hot dog, Eddie, and he really does play to the crowd.
Plays to the crowd, but if you're an opposing player, he'll do some things to kind of rub it in every now and then.
Now he annoys the other ball players. They get it.
Ventura can't cut it off. And Valentin can't make the play. And here comes the runner to third. And into third, standing up, is O'Reilly, and he does not look like he's running all that gingerly. And so Mesa goes to second.
Tough play on the shortstop there. Ventura went over to his far left as far as he could go, and he crisscrossed. And you can see there that Valentin just didn't get a good shot at it, and he just picked it up at the last second. A real tough play.
We've not had an official scoring on it, and so far they're allowing it to be ruled as a double. So until we hear differently, we'll just leave it in there. And the first pitch to the next hitter is Luis Ulacia. And again, the graphic on the lower right-hand portion of the screen indicating how fast the pitch is coming in there. Runners at second and third. We have O'Reilly at third and Victor Mesa at second base. Mark Beck takes something off and misses high wide.
They've got to get this hitter. This is the key here. They've got to shut him down, and they've got to come back and try to battle and get some runs. They can't let them go any further than they are right now.
2 down, 3-0 Cuba. Bottom of the 6th inning. And they've closed the drapes on a couple of potential Cuban rallies. Let's see what they can do right here.
To me, this is the big hitter, Eddie. This one could change the ball game and give Cuba too big a lead to catch.
Urlatsky is hitting .325 in the Cup. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. They get to the meat part of the order with PITCHEO, Linares, and Kindelan to follow if they continue. So they want to nip it right here. The Cuban team with a 2-run home run in the first, a solo home run in the second, and that's been it against Mark Beck. Mesa with a lead at second base. And they're going to pitch him away. And a comebacker, and Beck has done it again. So good pitching by Beck in the USA holds. And at the middle or the end of the sixth, 3-0 Cuba. We are back. It's 3-0 Cuba. And Scott Service is the first hitter for the USA. Service so far here tonight is 0 for 2. The USA trying to add to their hit total against this fellow who's done a terrific job, Jorge Valdes. Valdez is not allowed a run. He's given up 3 hits, and that has been it. And a strike call.
He's still getting those corners, keeping everybody off balance. Pitching a fine ball game.
He really is. Pretty crafty. No balls and 2 strikes to count. And now it's 1-2. July 23rd, 1960. That Cuban triple play. Runners at first and second in the 3rd inning. I'll tell you in a moment. And a breaking ball slapped on the ground. ALEJO O'Reilly, and O'Reilly will go to the bag unassisted. So there's 1 out here in the top of the 7th inning. And the next USA hitter will be John Valentin. Valentin so far 0 for 2, lined out twice, hit the ball well to the left fielder. And so the young man from Seton Hall hitting the ball but right at somebody. But he can't be unhappy at all with the way he's performed, hitting at an even 300. And really, when he came here, he wasn't really expected to be any more than a backup. And he takes a breaking ball to strike 1. 6 feet, 170, from Jersey City, New Jersey. Outfield is pulled around to the left for him, the big hole in right center field. And he waves at a pitch. And now the count 0-2.
He's been getting a hit on some of these hitters, and then he keeps working them out. And they're starting to chase bad pitches. He knows how to pitch when he's ahead.
Valentin, one of those late bloomers. A walk-on that has matured nicely. And that pitch misses outside. So the count now, 1 ball and 2 strikes. No activity at this time in the Cuban bullpen. And Castro still hanging in there despite all the boos from a crowd of about 50,000 tonight. High pop-up. It'll carry foul. So the count is still 1-2. All right, you ready for that one? Here's a little trivia. It was a 3-2 pitch. Kansas City playing Washington in the 3rd. Line drive to Pedro Ramos for 1 out. He catches it. He throws to first to Julio Bequer. And then they throw to second base to Jose Valdivioso, the shortstop, covering for the triple play. Ground ball to the shortstop. And Linares, or I should say Urlatsky, throws it over to O'Reilly, and there are 2 down. So it was Ramos, to Bequer, to Valdivioso, and who hit into that triple play? Timely. Whitey Herzog. Playing for Kansas City at the time, and that was the last, probably the only, all-Cuban triple play in Major League Baseball. 2 down, top of the 7th inning, and Royer the hitter. And he smacks one into left field. A solid single and hit number 4 for the USA. A 2-out single to left. Boy, he hit that one well, Coach.
He is good. Line drive. 2 outs. Got to get something going with 2 outs.
Got to get something going, anything at all, against this fellow Jorge Valdes. Our local affiliate should be apprised of the fact that we'll be coming your way after this half inning.
4-0 the score of our ball game. The USA with 4 hits. Valdez worked carefully with a runner on, and here's a strike call to the next USA hitter, Mark Standiford. So Standiford is 0-1, and Royer is over at first base. Breaking ball low and in. Count evens at 1-1. You like that little trivia? That's a familiar name to you, huh?
That was very good, yes. Danilo Pasquale, we're looking at his card, and you just mentioned it. He lives in Miami. I see him quite often, and his brother Patados also, who is quite a famous ball player here from Canada, from Colombia, Cuba. I'll get it right. Yeah.
You've been in too many places.
Oh, boy. I just went through South America.
In about 2 seconds. 2 balls and 1 strike. And a 206 average for Standiford. They shallow up on him in the outfield. And a good breaking ball on the inside part of the plate. El Estadio Latinoamericano in Havana, Cuba. And this has been quite an experience, let me tell you. Cuba with 2 in the first and 1 in the second, and that has been it. Valdez doing a good job, as is Mark Beck, the pitcher from Cal State Fullerton. And now you have a 3-ball, 2-strike count full. 2 down, runner at first base who will be moving. And the USA trying to get something going. On deck is Mayo. So you go to the top of the USA order after this. And it's a ball 4. That is the 3rd walk that Valdez has served up here tonight. Valdez has been a very effective pitcher thus far. He's moved the ball around, and he's gotten ahead of the count, which is very important.
Well, we've got to get something going this inning, and we've got to score a run and get the momentum back on our side, and hopefully keep it going for the rest of the ball game.
Runners at first and second. Mayo takes a pitch, a strike 1. If there is an area that you think needs maybe improvement across the board as far as international play, what would it be? Would it be pitching? Would it be catching? What might the area be that you think needs the most help?
For our team, the United States team, or overall?
In general.
Well, I think that, pitching, many of the countries that are involved now, the pitching is a situation that's being such a specialized thing that they need help there. Hitting, of course. Mention that there's 2 Russian observers here that have come over from the Soviet Union to watch these baseball games.
That ball hit the runner at second base, Stan Royer. They had a pickoff play on, and now Royer will be tended to. He was hit out at second base. He calls for time. And now from the U.S. dugout, a trainer is coming out.
I thought we had 2 trainers there for minutes, but it was Mark Marcus going out there, too.
Mark, who is the coach, of course, number 25, and Nick Schwartz, who is the trainer, and spends time during the off-season with the Omaha Royals and the Kansas City Royal organization. So Mark is out there tending to the matter while Nick does his job with a little ethyl chloride. See if we can pick it up. You'll watch the infielder sneak behind the runner. And he didn't quite get a chance to see it, but he got nailed. Take my word for it. And so nothing happens. The runners stay as they were, and it's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. And the USA here in the 7th inning trying to get something going. Todd Mayo, the hitter. And he fouls the ball back to the screen. So in general, you think perhaps pitching is the one thing. Have you noticed an improvement in that area?
Oh, yeah. And you're seeing better pitchers. People, a couple people from Australia in the minor leagues now, one in the big leagues, an infielder. The Dutch pitcher years ago, Wimy Remeswaal, was pitching for the Red Sox. So, the development is there, but maybe a little bit slower than they'd like. And I think that this one area that they can keep improving on that will help international baseball overall to compete with the Cuban situation.
One thing I've noticed is how big the Japanese and the Taiwan teams are doing. And a good pitch right there by Valdes as he gets out of the inning. And the USA gets nothing. They leave a pair, and it's 3-0 for our local affiliates. Our USA Sports cameras are coming to you live from El Estadio Latino Americano in Havana, Cuba. And with the assistance of our Cuban associates here on television and the facilities and pictures that they have provided, we are bringing you back these pictures of this baseball game, the first ever baseball game delivered live to the USA, of this game between the USA and Cuba, as Tony Pacheco takes the pitch and hits the second one straight up in the air. Third baseman coming down, Ventura calls, and there's one out. So Pacheco fouling out. And Pacheco now is 1 for 4 for the night. There's Pacheco. They like him here. He's a youngster, 23, and that'll bring in another youngster, Omar Linares, who is having his 20th birthday today. Linares at 457 in the World Championship games in 1986. He must have been 18 at the time.
18 years old, yeah.
I believe that.
He'll be ready to go back to Italy next summer.
Yep. That's the, of course, that's the site of the next World Championship games in Italy in '88. Bob Bench of the USA in amateur baseball in the States is here. Boy, there's a long
Boy, that's
drive.
it, straight away.
Whoa, boy, way back. 4-0 Cuba. He got all this one.
Boy, I tell you what, that's about as good a birthday present as you can have. He got it all and hit it in straightaway center field. That ball had to go about 420 feet up there in center field. That's major league hitting.
You sure he's only 20?
Well, that's what they said. They had a birthday cake at home plate before the ball game, and it said 20 candles on it. I don't know.
They didn't check his birth certificate, did they? 537 hitting ORESTES Kindelan. And Kindelan, who has got a home run to his credit tonight also as the designated hitter, is 1 for 2. And the fans here at this stadium are enjoying every bit of it. 3 home runs, and that is the 43rd. They've already set a new Intercontinental Cup home run record with 43
in their 12th game.
Yeah, and they have another game to play. Both these teams will repeat. We're 3-0 in this final round coming into this one tonight. And it's 4-0 Cuba on 3 home runs. Took something off, and Kindelan was way out in front. Boy, that was some swing that Linares put on that pitch by Beck. Mark Beck will have memories of this encounter for sure, but I'm sure he won't forget that swing by Orestes, or I should say Omar Linares.
I'm a little surprised that they've gone this far with them because, you know, they're coming around about the 4th time, and they read pitchers pretty good, and they start getting on them in a hurry.
And here's a little pop-up to shallow center, and that ball is going to drop. Good effort there by Valentin. And
I think you're going to see Kite get out there.
And you're going to see Kite get up right now, but they'll go for a base hit. Incidentally, we had already told you that Linares had established a record with home runs, and that is 11. He just adds to it as we look at a replay of that last hit.
Great effort out there. I got to believe Beck's getting tired.
Yeah, he has to be getting tired.
Yeah.
He's worked 16 innings in the Cup before this game tonight. Oh, he's got a tough one here in Urrutia. Urrutia, who came on in the 5th inning for Luis Casanova, is the hitter. And Cuba with 1 out and a runner on. Remember, they are a big inning team. They like to go for the big innings. And here's a line drive to left field. Mayo in the corner. Runner at first to third. And they've got runners at second and third on the double by Urrutia. And there is Mr. Kite again. So he's been up twice. He's going to get a call very shortly. How soon do you make a change here, Ron?
Well, I tell you, I think, of course, you look at it, and I think that they waited just a little bit too long. I thought maybe they were going to go last inning on them and take them out then. But with this team and the way they are, you know, you're talking about really a professional ball club out here against a bunch of young college kids that have been in a fall program and haven't played that much this fall, hasn't pitched that much. The Cubans have been playing straight on all the way through the spring, and in tournaments, really tough, played in the Pan American Games. Great ball club.
Yeah, here we are with Mark Beck going out, and coming on right now will be the man we've talked about, Dan Kite. So while we take this break, we will also 4-0 Cuba. We are back. This is Alejo O'Reilly. While we were away, Lourdes Gurriel, the left fielder, hit in an unassisted play at first. And now with a base open and runners at second and third, and the new pitcher Dan Kite on, they're going to work very carefully to O'Reilly and walk him intentionally. The intentional walk will load the bases and set the stage for Juan Castro and get set to hear the whistles and the hisses and the cowbells. Kindelan is at third, Urrutia is at second, and O'Reilly will be on at first base on the intentional walk. So Kite replacing Beck. And the two runners at second and third, the responsibility of the departed Mark Beck. And here's Juan Castro. Bases loaded in the seventh.
You know, Castro is struggling, Ned, but he still has hit the ball pretty good. And you know, he's not that bad a hitter.
Straight away and left. And a big cut and a miss, strike one.
Kite's going right after him.
The outfield of Todd Mayo. Billy Massey in center. Noblo on right. Straight away and left in center, and over toward right center field is Noblo. And shallowed up just a little bit for Castro. Good hard slider, this fella. And he cuts and fouls it down, and it's 0-2, and he is challenging this hitter right here.
Going right at him, and that's what, you know, they told us about Kite. He pitched real well the last time out. He hasn't pitched in a few days. He's real strong, and he's challenged him. He's going right after him.
Kite has a breaking ball that he'll throw with good control also. Let's see if he picks the spot here. Runners at first, second, and third, and two down. 4-0 Cuba. Bottom of the seventh inning. And he threw him a snake that time, but it was off the mark. So the count at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Kite with a record of 1-1, an ERA of 2.19. But his biggest claim was the victory he got over Nicaragua to get him to the final round. And now the count is even at 2-2. And that game against Nicaragua, they tell me, was some performance.
They had to win that ball game to get in the final round, and it was a great one, a 6-5 ball game. He's got the good, fast breaking pitch, and that's what I think we got to look for here to give him his best pitch, which is a good, hard breaking pitch. There it is.
And it's
couldn't get it over.
All right, now you got some action. You got a full count with 2 down and the bases loaded. And Kite, the 6'3", 210-pounder from Louisiana State University. And his home is in Glenshaw, Pennsylvania. Juan Castro waiting. A breaking ball strike with the bases loaded. And Cuba gets one and leads 4-0 after 7. But what a situation we had here for Dan Kite. Bases loaded, 2 out, 3 balls and 2 strikes. And Juan Castro, who's been hearing the Bluebirds all night long, standing with a chance to redeem himself against the kid from Louisiana State. Watch what happens.
Breaking pitch.
My. Was that a beauty?
Breaking pitch. You know he was guessing fastball all the way, and Kite did a great job by giving that quick breaking pitch of his. Maybe that gives us a little momentum, Eddie.
Mickey Morandini now to lead it off against Valdez here in the 8th. And here's one on the outside part of the plate, strike 1. Valdez in 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 3 walks, and he has struck out 4. So he has been good. And in the next pitch, there's a ball to even the count. Mark Beck worked 6 in the third for the USA, allowed 4 runs all earned, gave up 11 hits, walked 3, struck out 2, and hit a batter, and gave up 3 home runs. Down to ALEJO O'Reilly, and he'll race to the bag, and he'll beat the man coming down the line, Mickey Morandini, and there's 1 out. Boy, this Valdez guy has done a nice job for them, hasn't he?
Yes, he's good. On top by 4 runs, and, you know, he doesn't give up anything. He gets in a jam, and he works himself out. There it is. Morandini can really run. He's gotten down the line pretty good. That's a pretty close play right there.
O'Reilly takes his time getting to the bag. A new shortstop now for the Cuban team that just came on. Giraldo Gonzalez replaces Luis Ulacia. 4-0 Cuba. Top of the 8th inning. Sports First, live baseball. The first time ever coming to you from Havana, Cuba, as the USA goes against the Cuban national team. They win all the trophies in international competition. They are outstanding. And the pitch to Ventura as he slices it down the line. It gets by the left fielder, Lourdes Gurriel. And into second base with a double will be Rob Ventura. And he has his second hit of the night. So they needed to get his bat back in the lineup. Missing the last 2 games, 2 hits tonight.
White took that ball. He really hit that ball well into left field. And, of course, Gurriel's been doing a great job out there, but he couldn't get to that one. We got a runner on second base. Maybe we can get something going. We got 1 down.
Billy Massey will be the hitter. Billy Massey with Rob Ventura at second base.
Massey having a good tournament, too, Ed.
Ventura with so-so speed. That might be the one flaw in his credentials that he brings to baseball. He's got everything else. Valdez comes up with a pitch here that's a little wide, missed the ball, ball 1. Top of the 8th inning. Running out of room here in Havana. It's 4-0 Cuba. And they've done it all on the long ball. No surprise. And they've established a new Intercontinental Cup home run record with 43. Strike, 1-1.
You know what? You got to give this American team credit, though, really. You know, you got a bunch of young college kids that have only been together for a short time, no practice. Got it struggling early in the tournament, but have come on strong, playing a great, great Cuban team. Only 4-0. And I think they're doing a great job, Eddie.
They're doing a terrific job. Remember, most of these kids' average age is a little under 20 years old. Massey coming into the game here tonight was hitting at .394. His average has dipped just a little bit. But he has had a terrific experience, and I'm sure has matured greatly as a baseball player. 6 feet 180 from Wake Forest University. And the catcher hung on to that pitch, so Castro. And they don't give him any cheers on that one. He's not going to get any cheers unless he hits one out of here. That's for sure. Before the inning started, while we were away, when he came out to take his tosses, I mean, they almost rode him out of here, didn't they, with the booze? Strikeout number 5 for Valdez. And there are 2 down. Runner at second base, and Jay Noblaw. He has 1 hit and 3 tries tonight. Cuba with 4 runs and 11 hits. They've made 2 errors. The USA, no runs, 5 hits, and 1 error. Slapped toward the second baseman. No problem out there. And Tony Pacheco makes the throw over to O'Reilly. And that's it. So the USA goes quietly in the 8th inning. And it's still Cuba 4, USA nothing. Victor Mesa stepped in and then stepped out. It looks like he may have gotten a little cramp in his back there for a moment. Mesa, 27 years old. And he was the MVP in the World Championship in Cuba in 1984. And he cuts and misses on a pitch. And it's 0-1. In those World Championship games, Mesa hit .475, so his average is dipping a little bit. 310 coming in as Kite works after coming on in relief, and he got him on a pretty good high fastball right there. So Mesa now 0-2.
Kite's not wasting any time, Eddie. He's challenging everybody up there with his fastball and that fast-breaking curveball of his.
That was about an 89-mile-an-hour pitch by Kite. Took something off that time, and the count at 1 ball and 2 strikes. If you look back over the years in major leaguers when they had an opportunity to use Cuban players, the Washington Senators and, of course, the Minnesota Twins and the Cincinnati Reds probably did the best job of cultivating this baseball-rich country. So many of Cuba's national heroes are baseball players, as we mentioned before, and many of them played in the major leagues for Washington, later Minnesota, and Cincinnati. There was one scout that was particularly effective, Joe Cambria. Did a terrific job down here tilling the soil and drawing Cuban talent to the U.S. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and he walks Mesa. Calvin Griffin, of course, was one of the fellows that knew this territory best. Why is Cuban baseball so good? Let's ask Calvin.
Well, a lot of them are so poor, and they have none but fields down there. And they got on those fields, and they started playing baseball when they were just young kids. That's the unfortunate thing about the United States right now. There's no place for these kids to play ball. And they have a place down there in Cuba, and of course, Baptista was great. Castro was much better. He done a fantastic job down there for the athletes. You can see them in the Olympic Games, how great they are and everything else. So they have the opportunity to play, which the kids in the United States don't. Tell me a little bit.
While we were listening to Calvin, Geraldo Gonzalez showed how they do such a great job of slashing on a bunt fake. And that time he came up with a ball that was ripped inside the line for a triple, and he scores Victor Mesa all the way from third. Showing, taking it back, and then slashing it down the line for 3 and a run batted in.
That's the things that they do so well. You know, who's thinking of a slash bunt there, or a bunt in a situation like that, and he just stayed right with it and went the other way? Sort of like a slash hit and run. But they're starting to pull it all out now. If they get a chance, they'll really try to bury us.
And that'll bring in Pacheco, the 23-year-old second baseman with a hit and 4 tries and a runner at third. Here comes a runner. They had to squeeze on, and he's a dead duck. They had the suicide squeeze on. Pacheco could not make contact, and Gonzalez he's out, coming in.
Well, you don't see that 5-run lead, and they're going to squeeze with a hitter like that up there. But they're trying to score. They're trying to build it up now and get some runs and bury us good.
The squeeze was on, and Gonzalez was dead because Pacheco couldn't make contact. And the 0-1 count, now he sends one to the shortstop. Valentin over to first base. And there are 2 down. Oh, they tried to make it exciting there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Interesting to hear the words of Calvin Griffith for years, the man that headed the Washington and then the Minnesota franchise. The family owned it. Who best? Who would know the talent better than he?
Yeah, he lived on it for quite a few years. Had some great ones up there.
And he still has one of the best with him on his coaching staff. Or now he's a consultant with the Twins, enjoying some great days, and that's Tony Oliva. Well, Calvin is still around the Twins organization, but not in an active role, and I'm sure he's proud of the way things have turned out.
Yeah. Eddie, it's real. I can't get back to that squeeze again. You know, nobody out, and you know, usually you'll see it with maybe with 1 out, but nobody out with a squeeze is very, very unusual.
Omar Linares, and they turn him away. Kite will come inside on you, and he did on that one. Linares, so far here tonight, has 2 hits, one of them a home run, his 11th of the Intercontinental Cup. So Kite is he's thinking it over. And a ball that is almost pulled down by Standiford, and Linares is on with another hit. A hit for Linares, his 3rd of the night. And for the Cuban team, that is number 13. There's Standiford, the little second baseman, going back trying to make the play and not in time. Linares runs very well.
Yeah. And I think you'll see him running.
Orestes Kindelan with 2 outs, our local affiliate. Should be apprised that the next break will be theirs at the end of this half inning. And there's a quick throw over to first base. A lot of these pitchers, particularly the right-handers, have got a variety of moves over to first. What do you work with on your youngsters at the University of Miami?
Well, I think the situation is, you know, you got speed out there. You know you're going to keep him close. And like we talked about before, you know, they're not stealing off the catcher. In most cases, they're stealing off the pitcher. And he's got to show them a few different looks. An easy throw over, another quicker throw over. The thing is to let him know that he's got a decent throw, and that'll keep him close. He looks like he's leaning, and he's going to go.
Good fastball that time. No balls in one strike. Orestes Kindelan. He's a youngster also, 22. Interesting to see the Rawlings sign in the background.
Yes, it is.
Some American commercialism here in Havana, Cuba. No balls, one strike, 2 down. This is the designated hitter. Kindelan has only been retired once tonight. Has 2 hits, including the home run. He walked and he bounced out third first back in the 5th inning.
Linares wants to get off that. He's looking to get that jump.
And I see they're keeping an eye on the feet. And
there he goes.
There he goes. And the catcher's service could not get the ball out of the glove, lost it, and the runner goes to second base with a steal. So Linares with a stolen base.
He's had quite a birthday, hasn't he?
Oh, he's had a he certainly has. Every day he puts on the shoes, he seems to have a birthday. Because he is a talented young man. Only 20 years old. 0-2. Now they've got him, and the second baseman a little late getting to the bag. Standiford a little bit late getting back to the bag. Was there a misread on the signal that time?
I think so. I think he didn't come. Kite made a good job, made a wheel turn, and had him picked.
And again, a lot of this you can attribute to the fact that they have not played together a long time. The timing is not there. Not making excuses, but this Cuban team plays 10 months out of the year and they work out 12.
I think that has lots of, like you said, they just haven't had a chance to work and practice before they came down here. So I think they're doing a great job, really.
Cuba 5, the USA nothing in the top of the 8th inning. A very pleasant night for baseball. High and in with a pitch that time to Kindelan.
Kindelan's really struggling. It is 5:48.
Yeah,
for the tournament.
Yeah, he's going to feel real bad about this night. Right now, he's 2 for 3. So the home run and a couple of runs batted in. He had the 2-run homer in the first. And now it's a full count at 3-2. So 3 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 down. And the runner at second base. And the runner at second, good speed, Linares. Our local affiliates. We'll let you know again that we'll be coming your way after this half inning. Breaking ball, and he struck him out. Took something off it. For our local affiliate, it's 5-0 Cuba. Another one of the fine Cuban products that performed in the major leagues, Pedro Ramos of the Washington Senators. He was a terrific pitcher, and he was part of that all-Cuban triple play. Ramos, Baquer, Valdivioso, and this is Valdez, Jorge Valdez. And he wears that hat at kind of a jaunty angle, and he is tough. Breaking ball. The Scott service to catcher. The count now at 1 ball and 1 strike. Top of the 9th inning. This is it.
Last chance.
This is it. USA has hung in there. The long ball has really hurt them tonight. And service swings out in front of a breaking ball that time. And so the count at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, this USA team has got a lot to be proud of. They really do. Service, incidentally, is from Creighton University, and his home is from, this is a great spot, Coon Valley, Wisconsin. You ever been there?
No, never been there, but he's told me a lot about it.
You had him on your Pan American
Yes,
team,
I did. Yes, I did. He took some ribbon on that one.
Hey, listen, let me tell you, that's not a bad place. Some great spots up around Coon Valley, too. Nice resort area, and the people are the best, believe me. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And a foul ball off the third base side. Scott's service. When we visited with Scott this morning, I was really impressed. This young man is really a mature 20-year-old.
He is, and he's like I said, he's the
the experienced one on this ball club. He's played in a lot of international games, and the only one really with experience. But you know, this ball club played great defensive ball, Eddie, all night. We've seen some great plays in the outfield, some great infield play.
Sharply hit ground ball to the hole, and a base hit for Scott and for Coon Valley. I don't know why we called him Mark before.
I didn't call him Mark.
You were right. Yeah, you're always right, though. This is your team. These are your people here. A lead single in the ninth. Valentine. Got a couple of different pronunciations on this young man's name. Valentine. Whatever it is, he's done a nice job with this team. He really has. USA now with 6 hits against Valdez and a strike call to the shortstop. Slick fielding, young fella. Very slight, 6 feet and 170 pounds. He's a junior. All Big East performer. Count evens at 1-1. And Castro with a little sloppy throw there with a runner on. Crowd didn't pick it up. Crowd starting to thin out here at the Estadio Latino Americano. Well, we had about, I'd say over 45,000, 50,000 people at one point. Easily. And he tries to bunt for the hit. The runner moving on the play, and the count at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, you know, I know a lot of big league people back in the United States, people who are involved with big league baseball are probably very interested in what's going on here, because at one point you saw many of them over here trying to see what kind of talent there was, and it probably doesn't surprise many of them that the quality of the talent over here is still a real high quality indeed.
Well, I think it's been, except for one ball player, 1960 was the last time the major league ball players came out of here, and
that's right at the center fielder, Victor Mesa.
And up until that point, Ed, there were more major leaguers from Cuba than any other country except the United States. And then none came out since 1960, so you can imagine how much talent is still down here.
There's a lot of it here. Remember, there are 14 provinces on the island of Cuba. And the group that you're looking at tonight is the cream, the best pick of the litter of that 14 provinces, and they have teams in all of those provinces.
Yes, they do.
They play in their own league.
Great competition in their league.
Stan Royer, the hitter. We've not seen too many changes in the batting order for the USA. We obviously had the pitching change with Mark Beck going 6 1/3 and Kite picking it up there. We've seen a couple of changes for Cuba. One of them, Luis Casanova, who got hit on the elbow, played a couple of innings, but is now sitting in their dugout with his arm in a sling. And he was replaced in right field by Urrutia. 1 ball, 1 strike, and 1 out. I don't know about you, Ron. This was kind of a thrill for me to be part of a historic moment. Our first live telecast of a baseball game from Cuba to the USA.
Beautiful night, a beautiful stadium, 50,000 fans. What could you ask for?
A win?
A win? He's talking like a coach now.
Cuba with a couple of pitchers listening, a right-hander and a left-hander, Rogelio Garcia and Omar Ajete. Five to nothing Cuba in the top of the 9th inning. And a little soft toss over to first base to keep the runner over there close to the bag.
I know that's made Scott feel pretty good, because Scott doesn't run that well.
Respect, that's what he just got, huh?
Made him feel good.
Royer, the hitter, 1 and 2. And a foul ball back, so the count will hold. Stan Royer from Eastern Illinois, and the runner at first base going back now, being held by Alejo O'Reilly. Scott Service at first. Service will stay fairly close to the bag, and as Ron Frazier mentioned, he doesn't run all that well. They'd like to give him some help if they could, but be tough in this situation with a 2 ball, 2 strike count now. Jorge Valdes, working in the 9th inning. Count holding at 2-2.
Eddie, you know, you got to give credit, too, for that United States Baseball Federation that has done so well. Bob Smith, the international president and president of the United States Baseball Federation, those people, Dick Case and Jack Stallings, have done such a great job to put these things together.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot about them, but they're always going on, and these kids are constantly getting the flavor of the world and that international experience that is going to stand them in good stead when this becomes an official Olympic sport. It's still an exhibition sport next time around, and then in 92, it becomes official, right?
Barcelona, Spain, it'll be an official gold medal sport. And I just looking at down there, and one of the Russians got a foul ball. I wonder if he thinks this is a typical night in baseball.
The Russian observers who are here, of course, they're going after this, and they claim that, what did they say, within the next 5 years they'll have a competitive team?
Within the next 10 years, they said they'll win a gold medal in the Olympics.
Remember that. The Russian observers here taking this game and this whole Cup Series in tonight, trying to pick up the techniques of baseball, the way it's played in Cuba and the USA. 2-2. High pop-up. Second baseman, Tony Pacheco, is there. And there are 2 down. So that'll do it for Stan Royer, and that means that the last hope is Mark Standiford. Now we haven't seen some of the other kids in this team, people like Monty Ferris and well, let's see, going on the list here, Brian Cesarczyk, Chris Ebright, that have done a good job. Randy Snyder. I want to mention some of the other pitchers, Brad Duvall, Mike Hensley, Pat Hope, John Sebuhar, and John Olerud, who we saw pitch last night and did a nice job. He did. These kids have all contributed to Mark Marcus's squad with the help of Skip Bertman, one of his coaches, Ron Polk and others, Dave Bingham, Bob Milano, the trainer Nick Swartz. We're certainly proud of these young guys. Done a nice job in 2 weeks.
An outstanding job, and it's a very, very difficult situation to put, especially with most of these guys in college and going to school, to get the time off to come down here and play, and not enough time to prepare. They've done an outstanding job.
So is Jorge Valdez, who is working right now, trying to close the door and end it all as Standiford takes a pitch, and it's 2 balls and a strike with 2 down. This is it. End of the line. The U.S. has got to keep it going if they want to see if they can send a few more people up to the dish. The 9th inning, 5-0 Cuba. So now it's 3-1. Cuban team, incidentally, has stranded 11 runners tonight. The U.S. has left 8 to this point. So the teams on both sides of the white lines have had their chances, but they've hung up a few people, and some good defense for the U.S. They kept them in the game early. Try call. Good breaking ball that time, 3-2.
Good curveball. See Monty Ferris over there. Maybe he's going to pinch hit for Mayo.
If he has the chance.
He gets the chance to get up there.
Monty's a big, strong kid, so I hope he does. Runner goes, strike, 3, and it's over. A called 3rd strike, and Standiford is done, and so is the U.S. But they gave it a good shot. They only end up a little bit shy on a shutout by Jorge Valdez, as he will get congratulations around. Now the USA ends up stranding 9 runners. Valdez shuts them out. No runs, 6 hits, an error, and 9 left for the USA. 5, 13, 2 errors, and 11 left for Cuba. And the Cuban national team remains undefeated. They are 4-0 in this final round of the Intercontinental Cup 87, and the USA now goes 3-1. Valdez will get the win. The loss will go to Mark Beck. And how about the home run ball of Cuba? 3 home runs, a 2-run home